This is the eVox City electric bike. It's from Canada, and apparently it's very, very popular there. The rep who I was speaking with earlier was like, yeah, this is the most popular bike in Canada. And I haven't spent a lot of time in Vancouver and Toronto. I love those cities. It's great to visit. But things that you need when you're in Canada, at least on the West Coast, is get some fenders, because it does get wet. And I can understand this being a popular bike because it's got this really nice kind of a low step frame. It actually feels pretty stiff because the tubing is fairly wide. Love that they got some bottle cage bosses there. A little bit of a longer reach on this. But the seat post is huge. It's like 550 millimeters versus 300 on a lot of bikes. So there really is a lot of range. It's the kind of thing that I could see working for like a bike share, and maybe that's what he meant. I've heard of eVox before. I've got a couple bikes to look at today, and it's just, kind of neat to get a different perspective. The drive system on this uses a belt drive on the left, and then you've got your pedaling and your gears on the right. So it's a mid-drive, but it's one that doesn't interfere so much with your pedaling. It doesn't pull that chain. It doesn't leverage the gears, which means maybe it's not quite as efficient, but it also means you're not going to wear the chain and those sprockets out quite as quickly. So we got an 8-speed drivetrain. Grip shifter from Microshift on the left, easy to reach and interact with. Twist throttle on the right. So this is like a class 2. It's got pedal assist and it's got throttle mode. And the throttle is limited by the power level that you choose. So you can actually kind of dial it down, go a little slower, or maximize your speed for climbing and for catching up with people. Hit that 20 mile per hour top speed. It's very, very interesting. I can tell that the grip's matched, even though that one's kind of cut in half. The brake levers are sort of medium on this one. They do have the motor inhibitor, which is important because this is a cadence sensing pedal assist. It doesn't measure how hard you're pushing, it just measures that you're pedaling. And you can see down there, there's these magnets. There's like 20 of those. That's more magnets than I've ever seen, but usually the disc is much smaller, so that's kind of unique. It's neat that it's built in and it's not a separate piece of hardware that could get bumped or out of alignment. Sometimes that can mess with your pedal assist. Adjustable length kickstand back there, I appreciate that. And we got these TRP Spike mechanical disc brakes, 160 millimeter rotors, front and back. So it's not hydraulic, but again, Canada could get super cold and maybe the hydraulic braking fluid would slow down or get a little slushy or something. Mechanical isn't quite as nice, and the levers on this don't have adjustable reach, and it's just going to take a little bit more effort, but it kind of works. Head shock up here, which is nice, sort of like a monoshock aluminum alloy fork. You can get a little bit more comfort, and then you look at this saddle, it's kind of a fatter rubber bumper, so a little bit more comfortable. And then the mid-rise bars, so they could just kind of bring that back, and you could kind of rotate them back and change that reach if you wanted to. Again, just make this, dial it in for a whole range of riders. This is just kind of this metallic blue, metallic red, kind of a gray black, and then maybe white even, which is neat. We talked about the fenders before. They're just plastic. They've got some nice support struts. And then the rear, there's this rack, and it supports the fender as well. So it's just not going to rattle as much or get bumped out of place. And then this little bag, this little eVox bag, and inside, it fits perfectly, is this charger. It's kind of a metal box. It's like 2.5 pounds, a little bit heavier, but it's 4 amp charger, so it should go a little faster. And that's nice because this battery comes in a bunch of different sizes. And that's the cost differentiator here. So this bike's like $2,700 for the lowest end one, but you can go all the way up to $4,200, which is a lot, based on this battery pack. So it's a 780 watt hour, and it does increase the weight. This bike's like 52, 53 pounds, up to 58 pounds. Okay, so depending on what you get. I was actually surprised by how light it is. Just given how thick it looks and the extra tubing, it's kind of got 2 top tubes and a lot of reinforcement going on. The battery is protected. It's low, it's center, good balance. And then, that's right where the motor is too. And that's also one of the heavier pieces on bicycles. Of course, you do have that 8-speed cassette in the rear. It's good enough. An 11 to 34, it's kind of got that mega chain ring. And then you've got the larger front chain ring with a bit of a guide so that the chain won't drop off, and it might even protect it if you come into contact with a curb. So, well thought out. 14 gauge spokes, stainless eyelets so that you won't crack the rim as easily, reflective sidewalls for safety if you're riding in the dark at night, integrated cabling, you know, decent stuff. And the motor is pretty quiet. It's Dynami, I guess, is sort of the, and it's not a motor brand I've really heard of, but it is powerful. It's very zippy. This battery pack, coming back to just the specs on it, a lot of times it's like 36 volt, 48 volt. This one's 96 volt, so they're heavy on the voltage, lower on the amp hours, and you still end up with like a decent capacity. It is removable. There's like a key hole down here, so you can kind of unlock it and take it with you. This handle bounces and vibrates and makes a lot of noise when I was going over bumps, which is a bummer. But you can charge it on or off the frame. You can see that little cap right there. Got the charger with you. It's real convenient. It's just different. It'd be nice if this maybe stayed down and you got to line up that cap just right. Anyway, there's a key that you kind of put in there, unlock it, take the battery with you if you want. And the key is an interesting thing on this bike because it's not just there. You know, there's a physical key. It looks like this, right? Put it in there. Might even take it off real quick. Let's see if we... There we go. You can see the battery. Take it with you. Put it back on there. It just kind of slips in there. It's a fairly tight fit, and I think that probably helps to decrease vibration of the pack. Just that handle is the one piece, and you do have a bit of a battery level indicator built in too. Okay, so what I was trying to get at earlier is that the display on this being integrated, it's part of the stem. It's got like kind of a LED light thing up here. It's not going to light your path, but it might keep you visible. This is a really unique stem, and part of it is that when you're turning the bike on, it requires this little RFID chip thing, like you might use if you're getting into your office after hours or whatever. So you kind of have to wave this over the display, and then the display comes to life. It's backlit. It's a little bit bright, you know, and I think you activate the lights by pressing up and the mode button down here, right? And you can change the different flashing or whatever, but I didn't figure out how to turn off the backlighting on the display, which is kind of a bummer because it's pretty light. I'm gonna have to do it again accidentally. Turn it off. There we go. It's nice that it works with gloves and stuff because it is a little bit tricky to fumble around with keys sometimes. And you can see we got speed in miles per hour. We've got our power level, and that's really, it's applicable to both the throttle and assist. They function separately. So I'm in level 3 right now. If I want to go faster and get more power, I actually have to arrow up. And then that's the same thing with assist. So they kind of interact similarly, and you press the mode button once and see how it turned to a gear. That means I'm in assist mode, and now the throttle doesn't work at all. And then, okay, now I'm in throttle mode, and pedal assist doesn't work. But you do have to get the bike going a few miles per hour. That's like a safety thing, kind of a make sure you're actually meaning to ride and not just bumping this and, you know, moving the bike, or at a rack if someone was tinkering it. But they wouldn't be able to because it's the RFID thing. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I think they could do a better light in the future. It'd be nice if it had a rear light integrated. The key fob thing is cool and it works well enough. The display is sort of tucked away, so hopefully it doesn't attract as much attention or get, you know, stolen or bumped. It's small, but it's big enough at the same time to see. You got all the important stuff there. You've also got your odometer down there, and if you press the 2 arrow keys, it goes to like trip 1, trip 2. So lots of different feedback from this thing. And then that big V, I think that would get annoying. I might put some tape over it at some point. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. We should just get on this thing and show you how that belt drive works. I'm gonna start off in throttle mode. I'm gonna have to pedal real quick, and then I'll be able to operate it. So, get us moving here. Pretty zippy when you're in that higher level of assist. And that's the rattling I was talking about. This time I'm going to switch it to pedal assist instead. Okay, now I just pedal. It's pretty responsive. There's definitely a delay in the cutoff, and that's why it's nice to have those motor inhibitors so that you can override it. Like right now the motor isn't kicking it at all because I'm sending that signal that I don't want to go, that I'm activating the brakes. I'm gonna take it down a level here. It's been a good climber, just going around this block, up and down the hills a little bit. Okay, I'm in level 1 and it feels like it's not helping at all. There we go, level 2, level 3. Changing gears here. Not getting a whole lot of help, and I'm not going very fast, like 8 miles per hour. There we go, level 3, that's where it really starts to feel like that's much better. There's even kind of a flashing mode like in between where maybe it's like 3.5 or something. And again, the frame's moderately stiff considering it's a kind of the wave step through design. I have mixed feelings on this. Like, it's kind of got all the different parts that you want. It seems like it's pretty tough. This is a demo bike, so it's a little rattly and kind of scuffed up. But it feels like it would hold up. And it definitely, you know, it's nice to have throttle. It's nice to also have pedal assist. And, you know, you do have to step up to those higher power levels in my experience to get actual assistance. So sometimes, you know, it makes me wonder about the actual range. If you're constantly in those higher levels, you know, you're gonna burn through that battery a little bit faster. A couple more thoughts having been riding this around. You know, sometimes it's nice when you're in pedal assist to have a way to override with throttle. Like you're trying to save energy, you're in a low level assist, but then you encounter a hill or something you need to climb or you need to catch up to someone. It's nice to have that throttle. You know, and again, this is like a full grip versus a half twist on some electric bikes. Some people prefer that, that's fine, but it's a bigger kind of a plastic wire interface here, and I've seen some that have the on-off, engage, disengage, and I feel like maybe in the future that would be a cool option for these guys where it's like, you know, pedal assist always, and then you engage the throttle over here for the extra power. The other thing is, you know, coming back down to the key, it's a little bit of a vulnerable position, and I've said this about the Bulls electric bikes too, that, you know, if you're turning this crank arm and it gets snagged, or, you know, it doesn't bend it doesn't come into contact, right? But it just seems a little bit vulnerable to me. It'd be nice if, you know, they were able to put it just somewhere else, a little bit out of the way. But again, you don't have to leave that in when you're riding. It's really not a huge issue at the end of the day. A bit of a close-up on the belt. You can see that there's these channels so that the belt, you know, hopefully won't kind of come off to the side. And you can see this big, there's the magnet, but there's this big sensor interface here. It just seems a little burlier. So that's the whole, you know, bike share application or rental application where this bike might hold up a little bit better, hold up over time and be versatile. 31.6 millimeters on that seat post too. So if you got this, you could get a thud buster or something, and I think you'd probably want one that was a little bit longer if you're taller so that it actually protrudes. A lot of times I'm calling out like, well, you know, you get a seat post suspension, it raises the minimum height of the seat, and for shorter riders that can be a problem. This bike, everything is already like, it can go super low. So the challenge becomes making sure you get one that's long enough. So it's kind of fun, get a first look at something like this and just go out and try it and get some feedback. I've done my best to get all the specs on this and record them back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Check that out. If you're in Canada and you've seen these and you've ridden them and it is like the best bike there that everyone gets or something, please chime in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, your feedback, maybe even some tips on how to get it to work better if you tape that handle to reduce the rattling, or you know what. It's great. This is kind of a team effort and I appreciate it. So, you know, as always, ride safe. If you get this bike, maybe add a light to the back of that bag thing, and I'll see you next time.